Back in Game 2, I utilized Alario's toolkit, the Shield of Thorns as well as the Shield Stone of Isha, stacking physical resistance on top of Dragon Princes, who already have some physical resistance on their own, making them a much tankier cavalry. But in Game 3, Shield of Thorns no longer provide physical resistance, and that build was no longer applicable. But in this battle sent in by Mr. Teufel, he has found a way to keep this build alive, as he fields the Fireborn supported by Alario and also a single Mage of Life with nothing, but with the Flesh to Stone spell. No longer buffing armor, but turning that buff into a physical resistance buff by plus 60%. With Alario closely supporting the Fireborn, that means they can reach a total of a whopping 90% physical resistance, capping that damage reduction. For the infantry, we have a few Silverin Guard mixed in with Rangers. The spears will be holding back the Bretonnian peasant chaff while the Rangers will be clearing them out. Further to the left, hiding in the forest, there is another Dragon Princess, ready for some flanking maneuvers. In the opposite side, the Bretonnians, traditionally a very favorable engagement for the Brits, as they do have some heavy cavalry that the High Elves are really struggling to deal with. Knights of the Realm, 2 of them on this side, another one hiding in the other forest. Their anti-large and charge bonus would be quite effective against the High Elf cavalry, and also their heavy armor means that the High Elf cavalry, who lacks armor piercing in general, would not be able to deal with them effectively. And then supporting them is a very typical combination double Paladin plus a Fey Enchantress with a bunch of healing and of course her health drain, Mist of the Lady. In disguise, a single Royal Hippogriff Knights. They have nice armor piercing value, so if they get the charge on the Fireborn, they will be doing devastating damage. As for the infantry, a whole bunch of peasants, as it is indeed the man numbers matter. A whole lot of men-at-arms with shields providing a bit of buffer. At the back, spearmen at arms with shields as well, and then flanking a bunch of peasant bowmen with pox arrows. A single field trebuchet for some artillery firepower, great for cleaning up elfin infantry, but that is if they hit. That's it for the army builds. Now let's get this show on the road. With the field trebuchet, the Bretonnians will be drawing first blood by opening fire onto the Silverin Guard. And the Silverin Guard, despite their heavy armor, high melee defense, and dense formation, which helps protect them against infantry and cavalry alike, it does nothing when big giant rocks are smashing into your formations. On the right flank, the Fireborn will be accompanying the characters, Alario the Radiant with all the healing and a single banishment spell, and of course the Mage of Life with the spell of the day, Flesh to Stone. They will be surging forward into the forest, knowing that there will be a huge cavalry forces awaiting them. At the same time, the High Elf infantry is advancing, hoping to use their weight of quality to crush the Bretonnian peasants. Dragon Princess on the left is also pushing, but the real action is happening with the Fireborn. Seeing the Fae and her bodyguards separated in the forest, they will be charging in, hoping to surround and snipe out the Bretonnian leadership. But that does put them under the effect of the Fae's Mist of the Lady, draining their health and lowering their melee defense. It also opens up the Dragon Princess to counter charges from the Knights of the Realm and even the Hippogriff Knights. But Mr. Teufel here responding swiftly with a Flesh to Stone, providing that extra 60% physical resistance, combined with the innate 20% resistance and also 10 more from the Shield Stone of Isha from Alario. Most of the charge damage from all those Bretonnian cavalry are mitigated. And don't forget that the Fireborn are being healed by Star of Avalorn and Earthblood. Their hit points are sustaining despite surrounded by many anti-large and armor-piercing cavalry, while at the same time, with all this investment of value from the Bretonnian side, their peasant main infantry line are quite lacking right now, as the High Elves are plowing through with the Rangers and the Silverin Guard steadily but slowly grinding down the men-at-arms with shields. On the left here, Dragon Princess charging forward into the Knights of the Realm. A downhill charge versus the Knights of the Realm uphill charge. They will be doing massive damage with their high charge bonus, especially when combined with their impressive melee stats. Unfortunately for the Knights of the Realm, having inferior armor and melee stats and also not getting a good charge, even with their anti-large they are being beaten by the Dragon Princess. Now back to the cavalry blob fight where the Life Mage has retreated from this messy engagement. Not only the Bretonnian cavalry, even the Spearmen at Arms has joined in the fight. But the thing is, the Flesh to Stone effect is still active. That means the Royal Hippogriff Knights, who have great armor piercing value but no magic attacks, will have most of their damage ignored. On top of that, the Knights of the Realm damage output is extremely limited. Not only do they have their damage output limited by the physical resistance, they also do not have the most armor piercing, so that means the armor damage reduction, which is separate from the physical resistance damage reduction, will further reduce the Knights of the Realm DPS and allow the Fireborn to survive a little longer. Despite being surrounded by so much value from the Bretonnian side, the Fireborn are still holding on, although barely, and actually got some really good value overall with their anti-large bonuses, as well as impressive fighting stats. Of course, after all this kind of engagement, they eventually got ground down, but at what cost? From the Bretonnians' end, all the infantry are routed by the Sylvan Guard Rangers, and now the Lothern Sea Guards are dumping ammo onto the Trebuchet, destroying its crew. While the backline Peasant Bows are compromised by a combination of Rangers, Sylvan Guards, and also Dragon Princes who have broken through the defenses of the Knights of the Realm and now running down these routing peasants. While over here, Alarielle will be finished off or at least chased away by a combination of Bretonnian mobility and characters, but the Bretonnians need to peel back forces and go back to the middle, salvage as many peasants as they can because they are running out of supporting troops. Sylvan Guard taking fire from the Peasant Bows, not exactly the end of the world for them, as they do have some pretty decent armor at 75. Despite losing Alarielle, the High Elves still have a Mage of Life left. She doesn't have any healing, but she does have a Flesh to Stone to sustain units' hit points through damage reduction. While over here, Sylvan Guard and Rangers chasing down some routing peasants, alongside with more Rangers. At the back, the Dragon Princes, without any mobility to counter them, are freely running down peasants. These Peasant Bows are not coming back at all. And then the Swordmen-at-Arms will receive a massive charge from the Dragon Princes with their 80 charge bonus. The Men-at-Arms, being light armored peasant chaff, will be quickly routed by the sheer shock damage from all the Dragon Princes' impact. However, bad news is that the Royal Hippogriff Knights, who are still fairly healthy with all 8 models intact and also over 60% of hit points, will be dropping down onto the Dragon Princes. Something needs to be done, and that is exactly what the Mage of Life is doing, rushing over and then quickly dump that Flesh to Stone onto the Dragon Princes, providing that crucial physical resistance buff. Now, without the Shieldstone of Isha, they do not have additional 10% of physical resistance, but they still have 80% physical resistance, more than enough to survive the onslaught against the Royal Hippogriff Knight. And they will also be punching back quite effectively with 45 melee attack and 45 melee defense. So the Hippogriff Knights, despite getting that charge off, had the tables turned on them, being dragged down in melee combat while they themselves can't do much damage to the Dragon Princes. There's also some Knights of the Realm charging in, but the Sylvan Guards are closely following them, pressing forward, threatening to envelope them in a melee grind. Bretonnians desperate to break the High Elf Cavalry, even moving some men-at-arms to help. But the problem is that the Bretonnian forces are scattered all around the battlefield. The characters are completely separated from other units, with the Paladins plunging deep into the formations of Lothern Sea Guards. And now being stuck among a bunch of anti-large infantry, the Paladins cannot extract themselves easily. And finally, Fey Enchantress entering melee combat to activate her Mist of the Lady, using that direct health drain to sap away the strength of all surrounding High Elf units. The problem is that there are still so many High Elves in this blob, and Bretonnians suck at blob fights. Royal Hippogriff Knights, elite as they are, cannot fight back such overwhelming forces, so they will be taking massive damage over the anti-large bonuses of the Sylvan Guard, while some of the Dragon Princes continue to pin down the Hippogriff Knights on the ground. Fey Enchantress is trying her best to sustain this Bretonnian blob with her healing magic, but she herself is taking some noticeable damage from all those anti-large spears. Men-at-Arms with shields are trying to fight and drag down High Elf units, but they themselves have taken significant combat attrition and will be soon routed. Now at the back here, one of the Paladins overstayed their welcome, being subjected to all kinds of anti-large damage and missile volleys. They have decided to leave the Sea Guards alone. The Bretonnian player will then attempt to push forth their Hippogriff Knights, but that also exposes them to the crossfire devastating missile volleys from all the Lothern Sea Guard. With their leadership and hit points running low, they decided this is not worth it and will be retreating, preserving their strength for another engagement. Now back to the blob fight, the Fey Enchantress is putting up a last stand, and her Mist of the Lady drain is quite effective on the Dragon Princes. But the problem is that she is quite squishy with only 15 armor, and against the Dragon Princes, this is not quite enough to save her from the onslaught. so she will be routed through combat attrition, leaving only the Paladin fighting a lot of anti-large spears with heavy armor, which the Paladin cannot deal with without enough armor piercing. While over here, Raw Hippogriff Knights try to threaten the Mage of Life that regrouped, but the problem is a bunch of Lothern Seagull are close by, showering them with missile with arrow volleys. They are already running on fumes and will be dropping one after the other. With the Fey Enchantress going down and no more healing support, all of the Bretonnians' forces are on a mass rout, sealing the victory for the High Elves. With a quick look at the post-battle screen, we can see that the High Elf army has some great cost efficiency in most of their units. Dragon Princes the Fireborn, despite being surrounded by a superior overwhelming force of Knights of the Realm and Royal Hippogriff Knights, even the double Paladins, they were still able to fight back decently, all thanks to that 90% physical resistance due to the Flesh to Stone from the Life Mage and then the Shield Stone of Isha from Alario. Coupled with healing, their great melee stats, high armor, and their good leadership, they just held on and punched back hard. And for the other Dragon Princes, they also got some amazing valor, able to charge down one of the Knights of the Realm. After being charged by the Royal Hippogriff Knight, they were able to hold their ground thanks to another Flesh to Stone spell, and then slowly drag down whatever that comes their way, be it the Paladins, Fey Enchantress, or the Royal Hippogriff Knight. As for the infantry here, Sylvan Guard, great value against the Bretonnians, who doesn't have a great answer to these high elf heavy infantry other than the few trebuchets, which is quickly routed after the Lothern Seagull has come within the reach of a bow and arrow. Now the Rangers got some decent kills against the peasants, but not a lot of valor since all these peasant chaff cost next to nothing anyways. As for the leadership here, Alario the Radiant didn't do much damage. Her role is mostly to provide that physical resistance with the Shield Stone and also drop in some heals with Star of Avalon. While the Mage of Life not doing much damage as well, but her Flesh to Stone was crucial in winning the High Elves this battle, as the Dragon Princes were able to stay alive despite overwhelming odds against them. As the Bretonnians, the Royal Hippogriff Knights did some great damage, able to get the drop onto the Dragon Princes, even with the Flesh to Stone ignoring 90% of their damage at different durations of the match. Even with the Flesh to Stone mitigating a lot of their damage, they actually still got over 2,200 gold value. Imagine if they did not get hindered by that spell, it would have been much more brutal, but a good use of spell for Mr. Teufel here successfully limited their damage output, and in turn kept the Dragon Princes alive long enough to do their work, as a lot of these cavalry from Bretonnia were just spending way too much time fighting the Fireborn, while the rest of the peasant frontline got pushed and destroyed by a steadily advancing High Elf shield wall. Even the usually very efficient peasant archers were not able to regain most of their value. As for the Knights of the Realm here, not putting up a good fight whatsoever due to the heavy armor and physical resistance of the High Elf forces. Fey Enchantress, amazing value due to the Mist of the Lady draining the health of Fireborn and then the Dragon Princes. It's just that the rest of the Bretonnian army was not able to do its job. Paladins, due to their anti-large bonuses, was quite effective in fighting the Dragon Princes, but being surrounded by the Lothern Sea God, one of them got destroyed in melee combat, giving one of the Lothern Sea God amazing value. And yeah, that's basically it for today's battle. I hope viewers you enjoy it, and if you do and want to see more, remember to hit the like and subscribe to get notified when I upload new videos. And if you want to showcase your own replay, feel free to drop by my Discord or send me an email with the replay file attached. I'll be sure to check them out. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.